Hello to you there. Frontier Opening Bell starts now with me, Faith Agbetuya, and also I have on the call Onyeka Ijoma from Vertiva Capital Management. Thank you so much, Ijoma. I also have Agnes Gitao, who's the managing partner at GBS Africa. Onyeka is from Vertiva Capital Management, and he is an industrial goods analyst. We'll go on the show right now with a start of a look at the closing index in some African markets that we took a look at on Frontier Africa reports. We'll start with a Nigerian exchange, which was up by 0.68% as of Friday. That was a good performance with about 38,810.75 all share index. BRVM had 0.59% gain. Over there with 169.32 performance on the all share index. Egyptian exchange had 0.14%. It was up with 10,738.67 ASI, and Nairobi Securities Exchange was up 2.61. That was huge. We also have the Johannesburg Stock Exchange recording 0.64%. It went up. It was also up. The market ended up on Friday with 68,673.95 all share index. With that, we move quickly on to East Africa, where we'll have first the Capital Market Authority ordering Sinton to stop signing new clients immediately because it's asking that it should change its name to give room the name of the business and other products of Sinton there to give room for better investment. Also, we have on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, July turnover is showing that equity was down by 33.5% and bonds was also down by 0.9%. Kenya's financial year reports is showing that there is a dip of 66% to 533.7 million Kenyan shillings. Tanzania is showing that there is a 25 years treasury bond and it's getting bids worth 585 billion Tanzanian shillings. Ethiopia's annual inflation is hitting 26.4% in the month of July. And that was really interesting to me. I'm sure Onyeka will have something to say about that.
Yeah, it's the inflation story. I mean, it's something that we're seeing tick up significantly across most of sub-Saharan Africa, and it has its roots largely in the impact of the pandemic. That we started to sort of experience from the first quarter in 2020. Um, FX pressures as well as reduced supply of a lot of manufactured goods in the period, as well as the issues with global supply chain, pushed prices higher, and prices have not recovered since then. In Nigeria, especially, we had food inflation, crossed the 20% threshold once again sometime last year, and we've struggled to get it below the 20% mark, even though we've seen some disinflation in recent months. Um, Going forward, you expect that the impact of this. You expect the impact of the pandemic on average prices to continue to wane and to continue to decline in the coming months. However, I do not expect most sub-Saharan African economies to hit single-digit inflation in the next couple of months, as we'll continue to battle these issues. Central banks, especially because most apex banks are battling, economic growth challenges, FX issues, and inflation and inflationary pressures all at the same time. And all these three, the monetary policy trilemma, as we tend to refer to it, these three things cannot be tackled at the same time with proper effectiveness.
Move on to your views, Agnes. Agnes, which of these stories in the Eastern African region do you find interesting?
Great. So the question is how the regulator allowed for Citon to be able to operate. A lot of clients have already pushed, and there's a dispute ongoing in the Kenyan courts. Certainly, for me, this is the fact that the regulator failed to protect clients, and to come in this late, asking Citon not to take in new clients is a little bit lazy on the CMA side. But you're right. This is an ongoing story, and it's been it's almost like a Ponzi scheme, if you like, where consumers have lost money while the regulator stood on the sideline and watched this happen, and intervening only very late when consumers really complained. So we wait and see how the court case will unfold. The story on inflation in Ethiopia, just adding to what Onyeka said, my view is maybe Ethiopia's inflation is partly contributed by the political instability in the Tigray region, and also, as you said, Onyenka, the pandemic. Surprisingly, though, Kenya's inflation is still a single digit, citing economic recovery and positive economic activity in the coming months. So I think Kenya and a few other Eastern African countries have they have their inflation in check. The Kenya insurance, the sorry, this is one of the biggest, the largest reinsurance in Africa and Asia, serving over 265 insurance firms. It's good to see them. I mean, it certainly is. It's a reflection of the market. The insurance sector has been bleeding not only in East Africa but I guess across the sub-Saharan region.
And moving on to West Africa and Nigeria, we'll start here with the Nigerian Exchange and IFC pushing for gender equity, the gender equality via Nigeria 2 Equal. Also, Nestle SA is buying 125,512 units of Nestle Nigeria at 1,396 naira each. First Capital completes acquisition of KVMFB. That's over there in West Africa. Also, Ivory Coast is set to issue 121 CEFA green bond. That's interesting. We also have here from the Democratic Republic of Congo. The state is raising $7.5 million on the local financial market. All of that coming from West Africa. Oyeka, I don't know if you like to say something on any of those.
The first one on the NGX and the IFC pushing for gender equality via the Nigeria to Equal program. It's a very interesting one. I mean, we all know that despite the economic advancements that Africa has seen over the last few decades, and we haven't made as much of a or as much headways in terms of gender parity, whether in terms of pay or in terms of career advancement and all. And here we're seeing the IFC and the NGX pull together a couple of stakeholders to basically make some very smart. And when I say smart, I mean realistic, measurable, achievable, time bound. Commitments to improving their gender representation at all levels of business. There are a number of large firms involved, which is very positive. And we hope that many of these commitments will be adhered to. The Nestle SA story about them buying even more shares of Nestle Nigeria, it does sound positive on the surface, where it sounds like the European business is a lot more optimistic on the Nigerian business and is trying to invest in the business. But what we're likely seeing is that this business, as well as most of the other multinationals, have been buying up more units of their Nigerian businesses, largely because they are unable to repatriate dividends. Because of the scarcity of FX, the FX scarcity situation in the country. So while it does paint a positive picture, it's more reflective of the FX challenges that we're seeing in the country. I expect that Nestle SA won't be the only country to purchase units of more units of shares of its Nigerian business. Um, However, the positive part about it is that it does create more activity for the Nigerian um, stock exchange. However, it does create a problem because at some point these companies will want to repatriate their funds, um, and we expect that when FX scarcity improves, especially with the expectation of FX improved FX supply before the end of the year, we should see some sell-offs on these stocks as the companies try to repatriate their funds. The story of Forest Capital acquiring KV Microfinance Bank is also an interesting one. We see Forest Capital is basically the investment arm of an agricultural group. Basically, their acquisition of the KV Microfinance Bank is just another extension of their investment plans in the agriculture sector, especially across smallholder farmers in Nigeria. We know that smallholder farmers in Nigeria account for between 80 to 90% of all production output in the country, and generally access to capital is usually a problem and we see the impact of microfinance institutions on the agriculture sector at the grassroots level, and the hope is that this acquisition continues to extend such facilities to farmers at the grassroots level.
All right, moving on. In South Africa, we have a big story there. African Development Bank (AFDB) is granting $2.5 million to improve the electronics market in Comesa, and South Africa Development, the Development Committee. We have the. Let me quickly add that South Africa is having a very good electronics market over there. Lanseria Airport wants 18.7 million rands from Mango Air for services. Also, Anglo Gold Ashanti's dipped on trimmed 2021 production estimate. We also have here that the Zimbabwean Stock Exchange. Minor Bindura records 4.14% growth in nickel production in the second quarter of 2021. B2Gold in the second quarter of 2021 is also having a consolidated gold revenue of $363 million. That's huge. And all of that are coming from South Africa. Onyeka, do you have anything to say on those stories over there in South Africa? Do you have any of them interesting to you?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. There are a couple of stories I would like to touch on. The Anglo Gold Ashanti story, is like the most topical one. Here we're seeing we saw shares of Anglo Gold Ashanti drop, I think around 12% in trading last week because of the reduction in their 2021 production estimate. And this is very interesting. A new CEO was announced last month, and this CEO has basically come and inherited a lot of challenges for the embattled miner. Um, the Obuasi mine in Ghana continues to have a lot of production challenges, which is actually what has led to the cut in the production estimates. They're still trying to deal with that. At the same time, trying to deal with fund repatriation challenges in Congo, taxation challenges in Tanzania, and so while the outlook for commodity prices, especially metal prices globally, continues to be largely positive because of high demand and low supply. At the end of the day, we're still seeing lots of sell-offs on and lots of pessimistic sentiment on Anglo Gold Ashanti because of its challenges across its operations in Africa. The hope is that before the end of the year, we should see the Obuasi mine turn around, and we should see some production return come back to life in the mine. But I think the base expectation right now is that we will start to see production resume in 2022, and that's when we'll see increased production from Anglo Gold Ashanti. The AFDB story, um, it's an interesting one because we know that electricity generation across Southern Africa has been a key challenge. South Africa, who has largely led the way for a number of years, continues to have has been having some challenges with its electricity generation and distribution in recent years, and we are seeing the AFDB try to invest in that sector in across the Southern African market, largely to help create a common electricity market within that space, such that countries sort of support each other with electricity generation. And key components of this would include uniform electricity regulations across these countries in order to make sure it happens. Uniform, at least relatively uniform electricity tariffs across these countries, and also setting up a clear and auditable, transparent trading platform to help move power output around. I think it's a very positive step, especially as we are starting to see increased generation output from South Africa, who leads electricity generation in that space, and we hope that it will be able to support power utilization across the other countries, especially because we know that of the major infrastructure deficits across sub-Saharan Africa, electricity is expected to have the highest multiplier effect.
And moving on to North Africa, Egyptian exchange mates, the National Bank of Egypt, and others to motivate companies to list and offer. Also, Egypt and Germany sealing 12 development finance deals coming from the Ministry of Finance over there in Egypt. Egypt's central bank issues treasury bills worth 11 billion Egyptian pounds on Sunday. Also, Otto Hall first year the half year reports of Autohol is out, and it's showing a turnover of up to 34% to 2.82 billion dirhams. In Tunisia, July inflation went up sharply to 6.4%, up to 5 point versus the 5.7% which was recorded in June this year. It's on that note we are bringing Frontier Opening Bells to a close this day. Thank you so much for watching. I am Faith Agbetuya, and bye for now.